Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Rocky Hill Open Space and Conservation Commission. This is our regularly scheduled in-person meeting for Wednesday, February 9th, 2022, 6 o'clock in the Chamber Halls. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there anyone here from the public with anything they wish to discuss that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, our first item of business is election of officers. So at this point, the first office to be nominated and voted on is the office of chairman. Do I have any nominations for the position of chairman? Yes, sir.
I move that Michelle Zach, who had a family emergency tonight, she wasn't able to make it, but she does have a desire to be chairman, so I would nominate her.
I'll second that.
Okay, take a second. Okay.
Could I nominate you?
Yes.
Or do you have to vote on the first one?
No. We'll have an election to see who we want. So, do I have a second on nominating me?
She
I don't know if
seconds.
that's how it works.
Oh, do we need a second on a nomination?
Well, can
Bob?
we have two nominations on the floor?
Well, we're having a vote. I don't see how we could.
Okay.
Because you could conceivably have two people.
You could have
get-
more nominations.
Yeah.
At the same time?
Multiple
Okay.
nominations.
That was my question, the process,
Okay.
okay. So,
So do I need a second to be nominated?
Oh, yeah.
we
Okay.
have a second on the first nomination?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Then we have, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the process straight, make sure
Yeah.
it's in line.
I think Leslie did.
Les, you seconded? Okay, thank you. Anyone? Well,
The others.
any other? Nope. All right. So, Bob, how do we do this? Just all in favor of Michelle and then all in favor of me? All right. So all those who voting for Michelle Zach to be next chairman, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I see 4. And then all those for me? All right. So Michelle's the new chairman. She's not here right now, so I will conduct the rest of this. Vice chairman. Do I have any nominations for vice chairman?
I will nominate Fran Whalen for vice chairman.
Okay, and I will second that. Does anyone else wish to be nominated? All right, with that, we have to have the vote. So all those in favor? Aye. And that went unanimously. All right, we need a secretary.
I make a nomination of Commissioner Sandy Kelly for secretary.
Okay,
I'll second.
and there's a second. Any other nominations? All right, with no other nominations, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and at this point, I turn the meeting over to you, Fran, because you're vice chairman.
Okay.
You got
Thank you, sir.
5?
That was quick.
You're a regular member.
On our agenda, we have an application for a permit. Brian Bascom, Renee Boynton, proposed culvert installation, driveway crossing over wetlands, and other improvements to access property for a new home on a 12.36 acre parcel on North Road, Assessor's ID number 19-009.
It would be good there, Frank, right there in the middle.
Just please,
Would that be good?
just please let us know who you are, sir, and present your proposal.
Excuse me, Frank, you gotta grab the mic. Just tap it, make sure it's on. There we go.
Yes, good evening. For the record, my name is Frank Magnotta. I'm a consulting engineer here representing the applicants for the property on North Road. As the As the application reads, there's a number of items in the development of this parcel that are either close to or within your 100-foot regulated upland review area. The primary activity is the driveway proposed for improving the access to the property. What I'd like to do is just briefly go through some of the drawings that you have, just to give you an indication of what the site is. The site's a little over 12 acres in size, and this is the boundary survey of the parcel. You can see it's very long and narrow. North Road abuts here, and that's where the driveway access comes in. All of this area here is Town of Cromwell. The southern property line of this property is the Cromwell Town line. Two areas of the majority of the activity. One here, this area here, which was field topo. This is where the house, well, septic, and all that activity is going to be built here. And here's where the activity for improving that wetland driveway crossing. In addition, of course, there's a long access drive that comes all the way the length of the property up to the house here. I'll show you the details of that on the site plan, but this is just to give you an overall view of what this parcel looks like. Scale-wise, in order to design the site plans, I had to use a much different scale than what you see here. It wouldn't be readable to try to use this scale. This is sheet one of the site plan. Again, here's North Road. Here's the existing driveway coming in here. The driveway going up to the proposed house. There's a wetland band here with an intermittent water course. There's a wetland area off the property to the north here. This orange line in both locations is that your 100-foot upland regulated area. Because of proximity to that area, the driveway comes through this here. And same thing over here. Pretty much everything we're doing in this area is within, either adjacent to or within that 100-foot area. I have another drawing that shows this area in much greater detail. What I've outlined here is the major components. There's the wetland in green, and the driveway coming through here. And that section of North Road that has improved up just to and just past the entrance to that driveway. These are the two areas covered in your application for part of the permit. This driveway crossing. And this section of driveway that's within 100 foot of that wetland area. Before I leave this, as part of the application, we've submitted documents, the National Data Diversity maps for this area. There were no endangered species or species of special concern that were identified in this area here. The areas were outside to another area of town here. We've submitted an inventory. Mr. Rich Snarski did an inventory of vegetation in this wetland area for where the activity for the driveway is. He did not do anything up in this area here because it was distant and it was off the property. This is site plan sheet number 2, and this is where here's the driveway coming up to and leading up to the house and the septic system area and the construction and grading related to that. There is a small patch of wetland right on the property line here. You can see the small area in green. That was flagged and identified by Mr. Snarski as well. And the outlet of that is a 24-inch culvert that then discharges under Fawn Run and into Cromwell. Again, the orange line, here's the 100-foot upland review area, which there's no proposed activity in any of that area. I've highlighted a number of things on this drawing, but I don't think you can probably see from where you are. For instance, here, even though this is not part of the application for wetland activity, because of the driveway and the grading, there's a noticeable amount of water that comes through this area from off the property and comes down, and that's what eventually makes its way to this wetland into that 24-inch culvert. In order to cross the driveway here, I had to put a catch basin and drain pipe underneath to basically prevent this from flooding and overtopping the driveway. And that outlet's to a level lip spreader here, which then eventually sheet flows down to this area here. Around the house, again, the driveway and the grading. There's a footing drain outlet, a roof drain outlet. The small swale up on top here. Again, a lot of watershed off the property that drains down basically throughout this whole site. But again, it's a grass swale just to protect the house from surface water coming down off that hill from the property next door. The large activity, or the primary activity in the application, is the proposed driveway crossing. There is a crossing there, an existing driveway coming into the site, which I believe you have photographs that show what that looks like. This one here, someone is standing in the driveway. This driveway is very stable. I've been out there a couple of times. We had a serious rainfall this past summer, and I went out after that to look at what had happened, and there was no damage to the driveway. The large section of the driveway is overtopped with rainfall, because if you look, you can't really see it in this picture, but if you look to the right side of the picture, you see the grade or the ground is at the same level as the driveway there, and that's where the water's coming from. There's a intermittent water course there, and that whole upper watershed all runs through this area here. And there's no real brook right there. Again, as a result of that driveway construction, a portion of that had been filled, so everything overtops the driveway. You can see the remnants of the ice there. That even the smaller flows have no culvert or anything to use there. The proposal again is to improve that crossing. When I looked at the watershed upstream that runs through here, it's the same watershed that runs through this property and into Cromwell, where Fawn Road is. There's a large culvert that goes under Fawn Road or Fawn Run that ultimately takes this same water through that subdivision. Because of the size of the subdivision, there's a significant amount of flow coming down here. Enough of flow that even using would be a 10 or 25 year rainfall event would not be handled properly with anything that was there. I put together a design and a proposal to create 4 what they call squash pipes that basically would capture all this runoff coming down into this area, drop it down into these culverts, and pass it to the other side, and then down the brook, essentially eliminating that continuous, this constant overflow that you see there now, because the water just has nowhere else to go. Unfortunately, even those 4 large culverts are not enough to take all the rainfall events that are going to coming down that watershed. even though the 50 and 100-year events are not very frequent, they are significant. And it's not practical to design enough of culverts and enough of structures to pass all of those flows. And it's typically not something that's done just for an individual driveway. So what I've designed is these culverts, the capacity of those culverts will take a 25-year event without overtopping the driveway. Anything after that that exceeds the capacity of the culverts does overtop the driveway. And the driveway has been designed to act as a spillway with various protections on either side of the driveway along this whole area, so that it will flood, but a relatively shallow flow, but it will flood over the top of the driveway without damaging it. Without those protections, a major event could cause some serious damage to that driveway. That is the bulk of what you see. The primary cross-section to look at on this sheet here, this is sheet 3. It's the detail sheet. See this detail right here, which shows a cross-section of the culverts. It shows the limits of the wetland on either side of it. And you see on the downstream side, there's no intrusion of the construction into the wetland line right here. However, in order to take that flow, that surface flow, and drop it down and get it through the culverts, we have to have an inlet here, a riprap inlet, which does intrude a short distance into the wetland. That is the only real activity in the wetland anywhere on the property is that area right there. It's quite small, but it's necessary to get that water down into those culverts. Again, after that, if those culverts are flooded, the water then would build up and would basically cross over the driveway. There's quite a bit of construction activity involved in this area here, but again, the limits of the wetlands are impacted just on the upstream side, not on the downstream side. If you had gone out and looked at the channel on either side of the driveway, there really is no channel on the upstream side. But as soon as you get off that driveway a short distance, you see where the natural channel starts immediately and goes downstream, and that natural channel is basically where the wetland flagging has started. That's what the soil scientists identified. As the limit of the wetland. That's the limit of the disturbance from this original farm road. I know this is relatively technical, but this drawing here does give you the idea. This is the shape of the culverts, what they call squash pipes. 20 inches high and 28 inches wide. I had to do that because of the limited amount of clearance I had to work with, so I didn't have to build the driveway up too high. And 4 of those worked out relatively well without having to raise the driveway very much. I think I changed what you see there for an elevation about 6 inches for the finished grade of the driveway in the center. That's the low point. Then, of course, from either side, it goes up to either side, up into the side or back up to North Road. The last sheet there are just details and notes related to the septic system, related to this construction and general construction, for the whole property. Relative to the house and septic area, we do have approval from the health district for the site plan part of where the house and septic are, and I'm assuming you have that in your letter.
I don't have that.
I have one that I can give you. Okay, we received that a while ago. It was one of the first things that we had sent in to get taken care of because it's a totally separate part of the site, and that's this area here. Which really does not generate any impacts or wetland requirements. It's primarily a health department review. along with the proposed construction, although I don't highlight it on the drawings, you see these long dashed thick lines everywhere. Those are all silt fencing and erosion control mechanisms for both where the house is and where the culvert, the driveway culverts are. You will see in this driveway, every once in a while you see like an eyebrow bulge. Those are basically pullover areas. Because this driveway is so long, if you have more than one vehicle going in two directions, you need to have some areas where the one vehicle can get out of the way so the others can pass. You will see silt fencing all along here. You'll see temporary topsoil stockpiles. That's these areas here and down in here. But again, extensive amount of erosion controls related to this part of the project. We received a letter this evening. I think it was from the engineering department. Haven't had a chance to go through it that much. Were there any wetland issues in that letter? I looked at it real quick, but it didn't seem like there was anything there.
Most of those comments that were provided as, I believe you do have a copy of it also, are related to mostly engineering and other details that need to be worked out, somewhere down the line related to this proposal. As you know, this property here, even though it's in Rocky Hill, is very, very difficult to get through from Rocky Hill, so it will have to be accessed from the town of Cromwell, of course, and there'll have to be intermunicipal agreements and, for emergency personnel and highway plowing and so forth that need to be worked out somewhere down the line, non-related to environmental issues.
Yeah, yes, not related to this application, related more to the town maintenance. Now, just a note on that, there is one residence on the Rocky Hills side on North Road. It's a farm. I think it's a Hintz farm, and I think there's still somebody living there. And you can see where whoever's been doing the plowing, you can see an area where they had created like an area where they've plowed and turned around there, just past his driveway. With that, if the commission members have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Schweitzer, any questions?
Sure. A few questions. Your profile is reversed from your plan?
Which profile? This one here? This one?
The profile, yes.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Okay. Your profile shows 3-inch thick bituminous concrete going across your emergency spillway. Both your details show 2.5 inches.
Which detail? These notes basically call for the thickness. I think in the typical detail you're talking about on the last sheet.
Well, here it says 3-inch
Yep.
bituminous. Here it shows me 2.5 thick, and on your section, your cross section up at the top, it shows me 2.5.
That should be corrected. In the area of the overtopping, it should be 3 inches.
Okay.
The rest of the driveway is 2.5.
2.
Because there is a section, you can't see it well, but there's a section right here, which is the 3-inch section.
Right. Yeah. And I was
Then
just
everything
comparing
beyond
to your
that.
details that go over top the pipe
Yes.
that show 2.5.
Yeah. No, that has to be clarified.
Okay. Your detail to the top right references DOT Form 816.
Yes.
818 is the current.
18.
Yeah, I don't have 818. I can't keep up with the with the DOT.
What
And I look at them, most of them, for materials and things like that, don't change from one to the other. And I'm not exactly sure what they change, but
Just the number changes.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the length of your segments of the pipe that's going in there?
of the culverts,
Yes, please. I don't see the length anywhere. I was just curious.
it's written at the bottom here. It's 21.5 feet,
Okay.
at 0.5% slope.
Okay. Thank you. Your sketch there, can you include on that? I know on the overall plan you show your sedimentation control systems, your staked hay bales or whatever. Can you include those on this sketch?
On here,
Yes, because this is the important sketch.
Yes,
to me as
you
far-
mean this plan here, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I tried to avoid that because I'm trying to show clarity of everything else here.
Okay, but to us, that's the most important
Well, yeah.
sketch for us.
Right,
That's where all
yeah.
the,
I can do that,
okay.
but I said, I was looking for clarity of, because there's so much activity in this small of an area, but
Okay. Is there a table anywhere that tells us what the permanent wetland impacts are?
permanent,
And then I'm going to ask for temporary wetland
the
impacts next.
area, you're talking about the area of impact, or?
Yes. What
Oh.
your
There-
permanent wetland impacts would be and what your temporary wetland impacts would be.
There is a series of notes, and I think it's this sheet one right here. I think, is this what you're looking for? It gives a whole list of areas. Is that what you're looking for? I don't think there's a temporary one in there, but it does show the.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see the permanent now. As far as temporary wetland impacts, well, I'm going to ask for that also, because with this being an intermittent water course, how are you planning on handling water when these pipes are being installed?
This construction, it has to be done in a dry time of year, so it would be a time when there wouldn't be too much water expected. There is a way of diverting water in the summertime, water around the construction of the culverts.
Okay,
that would-
can that be included within this plan set? Because
Sure.
that may include more wetland impacts if you're going to be diverting the water, if you're going to be pumping it. So that would be good for us to see on how
Yeah,
you're gonna-
there won't be any pumping, but
Okay.
it'll be just a surface diversion on either side of the work area.
Okay, that would be good for us to see.
Yeah.
And then as far as how this will be constructed, how are you planning on doing that? Are you going to be putting in notes here for the contractor so that he's aware that he will not be, sitting lengthwise with his pipes to install that? He's going to install it pretty much from the driveway and be installing the pipe perpendicular to his
You
machine?
mean as far as going into the wetlands for construction
Exactly,
purposes?
yeah.
Well, yes, that is the intent, and yeah, that.
Okay, can we have notes
Sure.
on the plan to that intent, that you do not want the contractor in the wetlands?
Not to go beyond the limits. I can show limits of disturbance or limits of construction, yes.
Okay, and if there could be notes written out as to, or are they on sheet 4, your notes, as far as how you're intending the contractor to build this?
No. Not as far as what you just said. No.
Okay, because I would like that protection to make sure that
Yes.
we're not going to,
Yeah,
he's not
no,
going to be in the wetlands.
that
to
is the
install it.
intent, and that is, that's how it would normally be done, yeah.
You talking with us is one thing.
I know.
Contractor gets out in the field, a whole other story. So
Yeah,
if we
you're
could
not gonna
have
be
that
there.
noted on the plans, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Commissioner Liska, you have any questions?
Yeah, I believe you started out with this sheet, and I apologize if I missed that by looking through the sheets while you were speaking. It seems like you've marked the limits of the wetlands in the green and the orange on your drawing. Do we have a drawing that also shows?
It is on these drawings.
I'm sorry, so those drawings, we don't have them, but
You should have,
Colored marks.
the
I'm trying to find the copies.
the density of the line may be hard to read, but
I
it's
got
there.
you.
That's the orange line.
And you see, you can see it there, there's the 100-foot, and there's the line.
Thank you, that's perfect.
That is what I've highlighted.
Thank you, I couldn't see that.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to have to darken
I
that
think you pointed
for
that
printing
out,
purposes.
and I was looking at something else at the time. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Liska?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I have two questions. First of all, the engineering report, I know it's mostly to do with the construction, et cetera, but at one point it says, state that there are no millings used in the paving of the driveway, and since part of that paving is going to go over the wetlands area, I just wanted to verify that there are no millings being used on the driveway.
Not in this area here. I think it needs to be hot bituminous.
I'm sorry?
In this area here, it would have to be hot bituminous.
Okay. And also, there's a report from your environmental services about all the invasives. What is going to be the procedure for, how much clearing of invasives do you plan to do in that area where you're working?
The area that we're working, any of the invasives will be taken out because of the work area. Outside of the work area within the wetlands, we have not intended to do any other disturbance or any other modifications.
Only what's necessary during the construction?
Only what's within the construction area, yeah.
Okay.
And that pretty much covers the edge-to-edge wetlands. Doesn't go into the wetlands very much.
Okay, and,
That and the driveway will eliminate.
I'm sorry?
Said that and the driveway widening will eliminate some of those invasives.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm all set.
Commissioner Brown?
Fran?
I just want a clarification on this. The existing driveway or whatever you want to call it going over, it's solid. There's no culverts or anything.
That's right.
So
It is very solid. I mean, whatever's in there is very tight, very hard, and it does not erode or does not move. No, everything coming down the hill across that driveway goes over the top.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So it just, and as you said, the channel starts if a channel or what you want to call it starts south of the.
On the downstream side, a natural channel, but you can see that looks like it has not been disturbed. That's on the downstream side. Upstream, it's kind of hard to tell. There was some kind of a channel of some sort there, but when the driveway was built, it was probably graded out and covered that.
I have if I may interrupt here, I have a map here from the 1960s that do show the channel, the intermittent water course going through the property, and I'll be more than glad to pass that on so guys can see it. So it does show the access as it was in the 1960s. It also shows that pond to the north of the property, and actually that pond drains due north, even though the rest of the watershed on the east side comes due south towards Cromwell.
Okay.
Yes, everything on this property here goes north as far as watershed.
Okay. That was it. Thanks.
Commissioner Stevens?
Hi. I've got a few questions. Was there a soil report prepared by Rich Snarsky for
I'm sorry, what kind of report?
a soil report for his delineation? Did he do a soil report?
He did the wetland flagging. Yeah.
Was there a soil report?
I don't think he did a soils report. No. When we look at the USDA soil reference, that is pretty much what we found there,
Okay.
and that's shown on the map.
So did he just flag the, was it about 22 flags? For
Yeah,
The
he-
crossing and then the small?
And he did the vegetation summary. Yeah.
So he didn't delineate that pond on,
No.
it's on lot 144.
No, because that didn't involve any activity on the property. As I said, the water drains away.
Yeah. Did he
away from the
inspect that area to see where the boundary of the wetland was?
No,
Or-
no. We took this off of another. Well, it comes off of your GIS map over the town.
Okay. Because the town GIS map actually shows the wetland going onto the property, on our property. Well, I should say 139 property.
I said this is what we found, but
I have it here if you
I'm
want.
not sure where we have the property lines. Sometimes are not.
That's the town GIS, and it shows the town wetland going over the property line.
Yeah, and those are approximate lines as well. Those are not
Right.
well
That's why you
defined,
want to have the soil scientists
and that's
check it out.
and that's why we showed approximate. When you look at the contour here, it's really not possible to have that wetland over here. You're on the side of a hill. When you look at the contouring, here, the contouring is
Right.
this
But
is the
even
bowl.
if it's off-site, it'd still be good to know for setbacks and for...
Well, I mean that's why we did use this.
Okay. the filling, you said it says in the plans there's going to be 153 square feet of filling for the driveway crossing.
Yes, square foot area, yes, of the wetland, yes.
Are you proposing any mitigation for that?
No, no.
No
Uh,
planting plans or invasive
So
species?
much of that area upstream is not natural, has been disturbed. We made no attempt to do anything with that.
Okay. And then this is a question for town staff, for Bob. Did George Logan previously flag this property?
I do not, give me a couple of seconds here.
Yeah,
Look at
because
the other pile.
I think he came up with something a little different on that wetland, that little pocket. I think he called it a water course instead of a wetland.
Well,
Just-
where were you talking about out in the
Yeah.
on the other sheet?
And I'm just curious what he flagged for the crossing area. If he also had an area of non-wetland where the existing roadway is, or if he called that wetland.
Is this one of the areas you're talking about here? This
Yeah.
This is where there's a culvert pipe going out into Cromwell. There was some flagging in this area here
Because on the,
from an older
and I'm sure
plan.
you looked at the town GIS too, but they show a water course going way up through the property there. You can look at this again if you want to see it.
Yeah, that when you look in the field, that doesn't exist.
Okay.
And again, the wetlands are very generic and very
Is
general
that
here.
the same area where he flagged the wetland though?
Yes, right down there on the property line. Yes.
Okay.
There's no intermittent water course in that area. It's just open field. It's pretty much sheet flow. That's why that wasn't flagged. But this area here is definitely, defined wetland. You know what you're talking about? That's where this culvert is right here. There's water, sheet flow coming off the neighboring property, coming down through here, and eventually makes its way into this area and through that culvert. But you can see with the contours, this is a very wide area. We've gone through there a number of times, and so did the soil scientists. There's no evidence of an intermittent water course there.
So, but there's no report. The soil scientist didn't prepare a report.
Well, basically, his report was what he found and flagged for the wetlands.
Okay. He didn't have anything with any different soil types or anything like that.
No, these areas are so small. The soil types are really not of an issue. These things are so small; they're not even mapped in most places.
All right. But if it's not a wetland on the NRCS web soil survey, it'd be good to know what the soil scientists thought it was for a soil type.
But again, he identifies the wetland based on the parameters for wetland, regardless of what the soil types are.
Well,
And these things are never going to agree with your field surveys. Never agree with
but
the
I'm
GIS.
sure you know, like wetlands in Connecticut are regulated by soil type, so that's why it's good to know what the soil types are.
They're basically they're looked at from a standpoint of mottling and water levels and things like that. Yes, they do it by auger, and he looks at different color and.
Do you think, Bob, could we get the soil report from if George Logan flagged this?
So George Logan did, REMA flagged the previous wetlands on the parcel. However, this is not part of this record, so I got to see how it's going to work out, but I do not want to introduce something that was done by George Logan without his permission. I much rather have Rich Narsky either show up or send a letter regarding other findings that might be on the property, if any. There might not be any other findings related to wetlands or water courses.
I'm just curious if, my main concern is the crossing area. If George actually showed two separate wetlands like he's showing it, or if he showed as a contiguous wetland.
I believe he showed the contiguous wetlands.
Okay.
And that will make sense. I don't know why Rich showed it. I mean, I'm not a
Yeah.
soil scientist. You might know of a soil scientist that might have other
And I mean, I'm
other
seeing-
ideas. But you know, the instead of the flaggings going and meeting on either side of the proposed crossing or the existing crossing, I believe, based on what I've seen out there, and again, I'm not a soil scientist, but I saw evidence of water or wetlands running through both sides of the parcel.
Oh, and I'm looking at this one photo with all the ice, and, you know, whenever I see something like that, it gets me suspicious
Yeah.
to think that there may be wetlands in there also.
Yeah.
The crossing itself does not show any characteristic of a wetland soil. Maybe because of the water flowing over it, maybe an extension of the intermittent water course. But again, it's the crossing itself is a man-made material, and there's no wetland designation there other than the possible water. The water continues to go across that driveway as an intermittent water course, but it just as flooding the driveway.
So at the very at the very minimum, it should be flagged as an intermittent water course, right? If there's an intermittent
That's
water
why I
course.
was hoping to see George
You
Logan.
know,
He does flag it on either side of the driveway crossing.
Okay.
It is on the drawing as an intermittent water course.
'Cause if
He
it-
just did not continue it
if
across
it-
the driveway.
If it was originally a wetland, that, you know, corridor that went right through there, and then somebody put in some shallow fill for the driveway, if it's less than 2 feet of fill, then it would still be considered a wetland.
Yeah,
in
well,
my professional opinion.
Well, Rich Narsky would have looked at that, and he determined that the fill was much more than that and quite old. Otherwise, he would have identified it as a disturbed wetland. That's the amount of fill that's been placed, across that area.
Do you think there's more than 2 feet of fill where the
Oh yeah,
roadway is?
yes, I'm sure, yeah. Just by looking, just from looking on the downstream side of the fill area.
Did you do
It's a-
any
it's a-
test holes in that area to see where the water levels are and whatnot?
No, we did not. Mr. Snarsky would have done his investigation, his auger tests and that, but no machine test holes.
Do you know what time of the year he did his inspection?
I'd have to look to see. Brian, do you know when he might have done that? I'd have to check to see when he sent an invoice for that. Yeah, it was probably late summer, early fall when he had done that.
I think that's all the questions I have.
Yeah. I do have a copy. I don't know if we submitted this with the application. Mr. Snarsky does his field sketches, and that's what he sends us to give to the surveyor. I do have a copy of that shows what he
Well, yeah. anything that
what he
has
identified.
should,
He doesn't normally do a formal report unless we request it, but you see there's a section he flagged where the driveway crossing was.
So perhaps he should clarify it as to why the driveway was not, as you stated right here, as to why the driveway was not flagged as a wetland.
is there an existing pipe in there right now?
No, there's no pipe of any sort.
Okay, so this is like a proposed road, I guess.
Well, that was a copy of the.
Because I think that shows a pipe in there now.
No, there is no pipe there. I'm not sure what's in that, but like I said, this was out in the field with him, so that there's definitely no pipe under that anywhere.
Commissioner Kurtz, questions? How long is that culvert section that is going to be put into over this driveway area? How many feet in length?
In this cross section, you're talking about. Here's the driveway here. You're talking about this section here.
Yes.
I'm looking at the profile here. Goes from 0 plus 30 to 0 plus 45. The actual culverts take up an area of about 15 feet this way. You see the four structures there?
Yep.
It's about 15 feet.
Okay. What is the material for the rest of the driveway going up to the house? Putting in?
There's quite a bit of fill required, as you see, because of this area here.
No, I'm not, the driveway material. What's a driveway material?
A typical driveway material, a bank run sand and gravel, or processed stone, 8 inches usually.
Okay, it's not
And then,
paved.
and then in this area here, because of the slopes coming out of that low area, it has to be paved for
Correct.
a
Yeah.
short section.
I understand that, but the rest of it's just going to be gravel or?
Oh, the majority of it. There are some sections up near the house where, again, it gets steep again. It's paved, but the majority of that is stone.
Now, the house you said is within the inland wetland review area?
No.
Gonna be built? Oh, it's
No,
not?
none of that area is.
Okay, so just this
It's,
lower
it
portion?
was, I showed the area that was located. Oh, I said that small wetland down at the bottom of the hill. This area here is that wetland, and the outlet pipe that goes into Cromwell. And there's your 100-foot line there.
Okay. Anything further? What action does our commission want to take with this tonight?
Could I have one more question?
Yes, you can.
If you could go back to the drawing, it's, I guess, sheet number 1 of 5 that you had marked up with the 100-foot boundary. Yes. So where you just had your hand, where the driveway crosses that 100-foot boundary, and
You're
yes, that one.
talking about this area here? Yes.
I realize the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, but was there any thought about diverting the driveway so it's not within the 100-foot boundary?
No, and I'll explain to you why. If you look closely along that driveway, you'll see there's a spot elevation there.
Yep.
And that spot elevation, the contour here comes down to that point and down to that. This is a low point in the existing contour.
Roughly 150?
Okay, but in that sump, that is a high point right there. So basically, it says that anything to one side goes to the north, and anything to the other side goes to the south. And that was basically to allow us to get all the runoff coming off of this driveway to the north side of the driveway and not to the south side, because of this whole area here is all houses. If I were to move that out of that 100-foot review area, all that driveway runoff is now going to end up going down into those houses. Right now, this driveway is literally right on the. It's like a ridge, and the runoff is basically coming off to the north
That's true.
because of that high point.
That the low point right here, where it would divert down here and then go into this 12-inch pipe.
That low point is the entrance area to that pipe. You're talking about the pipe here. But again, to take this driveway down here would end up having all this runoff from this whole section of driveway all coming down across that subdivision. And even though that's not a wetland issue, that is a legal issue and a drainage issue that you just don't do that. I said I centered the driveway at that point here so that anything going on here went either this way or that way, and the driveway was literally at a high point on either side. And if you look at the contours on the driveway in here, you see how the driveway is like this, but the contours are sloped so that the runoff coming off the driveway is that direction. And there's literally no water from this driveway coming out here, because this is only a 12-inch pipe, so that's not going to handle much of any additional water. And that's pretty much the natural drainage pattern right now. That high point, and this year, all that water goes to the north, and just this immediate area goes to the south through that 12-inch pipe. So diverting that other water into that 12-inch pipe would create a problem for that and for the neighbors there.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask staff, I was just pointing out that our town engineer asked us to table this because the town of Cromwell.
Right, we always, right, yeah, just to comply with section 6.12 and 6.16 of the regulations to have a table notify the town of Cromwell, as
Okay.
we did before in our previous proposal that came through, I believe it was a couple of years ago. Provide the town clerk with notification, also provided the staff in Cromwell with notification, and hopefully, if enough of the documents needed are gathered by the next meeting, then have this commission make a decision at the next meeting.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I'll make make a motion to table this application for permit for Brian Bascom, Renee Bouton, proposed culverts installation, driveway crossing over wetlands and other improvements to access property for a new home on a 12.36 acre parcel on North Road, Assessor's ID number 19-009.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, do we have a list of what we'd like from the engineer before the next meeting?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
We'll try to put it together for you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. But particularly the number of items coming from Commissioner Schweitzer.
And I didn't know if Commissioner Stevens wanted
Soil.
soils report or any requests.
Why don't you
for
just
you,
Why don't you just email me whatever comments there are, because as you know, Eileen is not here, so if you can email me the comments, I would, I will send them to Frank as soon as I get them. If that's okay.
Okay. All in favor for the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries, so it'll be tabled until next month.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have to, action taken for the minutes presented for approval from the January 12th, 2022 meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Okay, some of the discussion items. Staff has a moment. Any open space bylaw? Discussions on
Yeah,
that?
Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the committee. So from time to time, we like to see whether or not the bylaws that were signed off by this commission are in line. What is it that you want to do? The last time that we revised the bylaws, there's a signature at the last page. I believe it was a few years ago when Ken Goldberg was still chairman of the committee, and one of the proposals. I know that Sandy Kelly worked on a proposal to amend the existing bylaws to allow for attendance. So maybe Sandy want to speak to that, please.
Sure. Thank you, Bob. I know people are absent, and that's perfectly normal. We have things going on in our lives. But I think if we want to consider, and I didn't put this out because this is what I think we should do tonight, I wanted to put out this additional paragraph in the attendance section to consider it. I mean, if a person, number one, our bylaws say call 48 hours ahead of time to let us know, to let the chairman know, and that's courteous. If this is repeated, then I think we should check. And as I said privately, maybe there are just commitments or lack of interest where the individual will be happier not being on the commission, and that's fine. And then we should move up the alternate into that position, and then we'd have to search for a new alternate, whichever party is involved. So that was my thought, instead of, wondering, now, for instance, and this is not a reflection on anybody, but Craig is still he's an alternate?
What?
Redinger?
Was.
Oh, is that
Was.
over now?
He's
Okay.
over.
But this has been 2 years, and one party has lost a vote, basically, because that individual is not here. Hate to even say party, I hate to even think politics, but truly, that's how we're built. So that was one thought. And then I had a question, if a regular member has 2 absences or 2 consecutive absences. It's kind of, if they happen, 6 months apart, that's not horrible. If they're twice in a row, does that show no interest? So that's wording to be debated. And then the second one, then again, refers to an alternate. If they have 2 consecutive absences, maybe they're not interested, and, we find out, privately have a discussion, and replace them for the betterment of the commission, and because maybe they'd be happier not being on it. So I drew this up, and I have one other thing, but let's talk about this. If anybody has thoughts, I don't know if we make a motion and accept it.
At the end of your first paragraph, could you pretty much just add in what you had said, and also the last sentence of your second paragraph, that if we're going to move up an alternate, can we just put the sentence in there, the commission will request that a new alternate be appointed?
So at the end of the first paragraph, the commission will,
We're going to move an alternate up to full-time status. Can we just add that sentence in, then the commission will request that a new alternate be appointed?
okay, yes.
Does anybody else have any discussion on this?
Mr. Vice Chairman, can I bring something up regarding, are we looking at the amendments that Ms. Kelly is proposing?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. I had a question regarding the Article 5, but go ahead right ahead with that one.
I was going to go there now. Okay, you're going to, okay, next. But
That'll be next.
I have
Is-
one other suggestion. The first paragraph, where it says the member should be asked privately, I'm just suggesting maybe we add the member should be asked by the chairman or chair.
privately by the chairman, by the
chairperson.
chairperson, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yep.
Any other questions or comments to be added?
Do we still have to make a decision on if it's 2 consecutive, or if 2 is the appropriate number? Do you still want to talk about that? Or is
Yeah,
that something to
think-
think about and decide at next meeting?
I think consecutive is a key. I put it in there, but in brackets but I really think 2 in a row is indicative. 1 in February and 1 in September, well, life happens. So do we agree on using the word consecutive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll
What do
take
you
the,
think?
And
Brackets.
especially since you've already got in there without notifying the chairman, so.
yeah. Because that is a requirement, the 48 hours, if you look earlier in Article 11. So, question for staff, Bob, we make a motion to accept this, and I'll just, reprint it and send it to you with a
Yeah,
few additions?
that'll be
Okay.
fine.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Could you read what you
Okay.
want to present for us,
Yes.
please?
If a regular member has 2 consecutive absences without notifying the chair at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, the member should be asked privately by the chairperson about his or her commitment or ability to continue to serve on the commission. The commission will consider replacing this member by moving an alternate to full-time status. The commission will then request that a new alternate be appointed. If an alternate has 2 consecutive absences without notifying the chair at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, The commission shall follow the same process as for a full-time member regarding commitment or ability to serve. If the alternate is unable to continue, the commission will request that a new alternate be appointed.
Any further discussion, or does somebody want to propose a motion to accept that?
I propose a motion to accept that.
A second? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Sandy, for
Okay.
correct.
Thank you, everyone.
Did you have another, or Bob, something else you want to bring up?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the committee. So we were also discussing Article 5, which is a little bit, it's a little bit confusing to me. Maybe I'm just getting confused, but if you look at Article 5, during the officers for nominations, and if you look at nominations, basically the second article says, second paragraph rather says, nominations for commission officers might be made by a regular member only. And I mean, if receiving 4 votes of those regular members present at the meeting at which the election is held will be declared elected. It is, does that mean that appointed alternates cannot vote in this process? Does that shut out even if this alternate was filling in for a member that was not present? So I'm not quite sure as to whether or not that sentence should be probably maybe left as is, or maybe reworked to read a little bit differently, you know, and basically eliminate the fact that only regular members can be voting for officers. As, I mean, is everybody reading that the same as I am? I mean, because I'm a little bit confused.
I have a comment on it.
Sure.
I would propose changing the word regular member to voting member, because if we're short 1 or 2 regular members and an alternate becomes a voting member, even if
Yeah.
for 20 minutes until the regular member comes in, but we're voting at that point, that person is now a voting member for that short period of time or for the whole meeting. So I would just propose changing the
Regular-
adjective to voting.
So,
That's
well,
consistent with the last sentence under Article 10. If you've heard of that.
Jumping ahead here. Okay,
Right, that would be
Or-
consistent with that.
right, because an alternate at that point could constitute a quorum
Right.
if the
Right.
regular member's absent. So, okay, so we're back to changing regular to voting in Article 5, Paragraph 2.
okay.
Is that
Is everybody okay with that?
Any other
Sense?
discussion on that? Anybody? Comments? Sounds logical. Does anybody want to make a motion and we'll vote on that?
Now, Mr. Vice Chairman, I'll make a motion to amend the second paragraph in Article 5, second paragraph, second sentence. Change it to read, a nominee receiving 4 votes of those voting members present at the meeting at which the election is held will be declared elected.
Good. Yes, sir.
Can I make a friendly amendment to that,
Okay.
Sandy?
Yeah.
In the second sentence, a nominee receiving 4 votes of those voting members, change regular to voting on the second sentence also.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sentence I was reading, wasn't it? The first sentence on the second paragraph?
Yeah, okay, all right, I misunderstood.
Oh,
So
okay.
then in the first sentence, only a regular member can make the nomination?
Well, should that be a voting member too?
Yes.
That would be
Probably.
consistent.
Voting.
Good point.
Yeah, good point. Voting member. Any other amendments to that, to her motion, original motion? Did we get a second on that yet? We did. No, we didn't.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of these amended bylaws, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Any other thing with our bylaws? Yep. Anybody wants to discuss? Okay. I know, Bob, you want to talk about the DEP training?
Okay, so I have sent out a link to the DEP training seminars or modules. If any members of this committee would like to go through the modules, there's 8 modules involved with this, and it's really good training related to all the environmental issues, FOI, legal requirements, and so forth. I will send it again if you guys are interested. I know that Commissioner Kelly went through the training recently. I don't know what kind of feedback you can give the commission members, but I hope it's
Well,
some good feedback.
Dave and Marnie will ace the maps. Scott will ace the soil scientist.
There's a test.
Many of us will struggle with all of it.
boy.
It was a really good refresher on things you just don't consider, because we have
Good.
staff sitting here, Bob answering our questions. You know, if we had to do all this on our own. It's a good refresher. And yes, there are tests at the end of each, but you can go back again and again and again. So it's a good, especially if you're new to the commission or on some of this stuff, it's really good.
Sure.
I know, Commissioner.
I did start it, and
Did
I
you?
got through 4, and I think it's fantastic.
Oh,
And
good.
and the importance of soil. Like I'm looking around my yard. I won't go on, but it's fantastic, and I would recommend it. And really, it's not a huge time commitment. I have 2 kids, and I already got through half of it. So.
Good for you.
Good, great. Great.
Yeah, I did it maybe 2 years ago, I think, and I'd probably do it again if I wasn't so busy right now, but it is excellent. And do they change it, Bob? Do they add
They
stuff to
changed it a little bit. We have 2 staff people that recently completed the course, and they found it very informative. Also, I believe Commissioner Sack is going through the modules also. So I mean, they change them from time to time, as you know. Some of the legal requirements, do change every now and then.
Good. Thank you for alerting us all to it. Sounds like a very worthwhile program. Permit number 572 regarding 255 France Street. What's going on with that?
Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the committee. So let me just refresh, do a little bit of a refresher on this one here. As you know, there was a permit that was issued for a single-family dwelling on France Street. Actually, it was 251 France Street, at the rear of 251 France Street, which is 255 France Street. At that time, this was about 2 years ago. At that time, the permit holder, the applicant at that time, came in with a house that was in X amount of proximity to the wetlands and water courses. A permit was issued. Then they came back in asking for a different footprint of the house, which it was closer to the wetlands and water courses by about, I want to say about 20 more feet. So at that point, last year, the commission denied the request for modification of the permit. So now, so I just wanted to let you know that right now, the permit holder is going through the Zoning Board of Appeals to try to get an appeal to push the house forward those 20 feet. As you know, there is no house on the lot, of course, but environmentally speaking, it's probably the thing to do. That was something that was discussed during the proceedings when he was denied of the modification. And The reason why I'm bringing this up is going to be on the next agenda for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I feel like this is the right thing to do as far as environmental issues on the site, to keep the house away from wetlands and water courses if they do indeed want a larger footprint. So I was hoping that that this committee would support the proposal that will be before the Zoning Board of Appeals next week.
May I ask, Bob, is this so that he can enlarge that house the way he wanted to?
So he
So if he
can get
comes
the
forward?
footprint that he wanted. He found out that for whatever reason, the footprint that was drawn up during the initial permit that was issued is not suitable for what they wanted.
And he wanted to go to one?
Yes, yeah. So it's a larger footprint, it's a few more amenities and what have you, but I think this came up during the proceeding that maybe it would have been probably a good idea for them to maybe go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and maybe ask to see whether or not that can be moved forward. As you know, a rear lot is, the front yard setback is 90 feet. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, why, I don't think 20 feet is going to make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. It will make a difference for this board, because it's going to keep the house that far away from the wetlands, that much farther away from the wetlands. But as far as the zoning board, we were hoping that the zoning board would see, would see this as a positive and vote for it. But I'm enlisting your support in any way you can to see whether or not that would be something that you guys either could write a letter to the zoning board or allow me to write a letter to the zoning board asking that this application be considered, under their regulations.
Commissioner Schweitzer.
Yeah, question for you to staff. If we're going to support this, what distance offset are they going to be proposing? Are they going to get back to this 41 feet that we approved for them?
Yes, basically. They have to maintain the first distance, minimum of the first distance that was approved in the permit.
Okay.
Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, just a quick one.
Yes, sir.
Bob, the houses don't line up, so it's not like, it's set 20 feet closer to the house. The other house isn't at the rear setback, so there's plenty of room.
There's
It's not like these are houses stacked on each other.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of room.
Yeah.
And the house in the front is a relative, but that's not to say that people can sell houses and what have you, but it's the fact that is as far as we are concerned, this board is concerned, it will be probably more suitable to move the house forward than to encroach more on the wetlands because it was already denied. So if it comes back to you guys, you're going to deny him again.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so it's either build what he was approved for or move the house forward.
Right, and just going with that, the front house isn't at the furthest back of the setback. So
Yeah.
there's still more than the legal amount. Okay, I'm good with it.
Bob, so if we look at sheet 2, number 2, when we say they've got to move back to the 41-foot setback, that includes the enlarged garage as well, correct?
Everything,
All right.
everything has to be kept a minimum of the first distances that were approved 2 years ago.
So do we make a motion?
I think
to-
so.
I'll make
For
a
Bob to
motion,
make
Mr.
a
Vice
letter.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that staff send a letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals to support the permit, the zoning change that the applicants at 572-255 France Street are requesting.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion further? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, staff, for preparing that letter. Plan of Conservation and Development, Plan Implementation Committee,
Nothing this month.
status report, various projects.
Okay, so I'm just going to start with Ames. As you probably know, Ames is, well, the former Ames headquarters is back on the agenda for a proposal. They're going to be on the agenda for planning and zoning February 16th, which is next week, next Wednesday. I believe that public hearing is going right to public hearing. It's at 6:30 p.m. I'll confirm that with Kim. The proposal was revised. If you like to see it, I'll be more than glad to send you a PDF as to what what it looks like. So I'll send you guys a PDF. Regarding the Rocky Hill former landfill, there have been no changes, no notices, no information that was given. I know that we got new town attorneys that are going to be working on this. The town of Rocky Hill recently changed to back to Holleran and Sage, and I believe Morris Boria is going to be working in some of the things that the previous town attorney was working on, including the former landfill. And that's all I have for that.
Okay, open space,
Nothing.
legislation,
None.
conferences,
None.
correspondence, communications. Do we have anything on that?
So we received, there's two letters actually one letter that was placed in the packet for your information. That was the stipulated agreement between the state of Connecticut and the developer of the Old Main Street subdivision. The agreement that you received has not been signed, however, is leaning towards being signed somewhere down the line. And I don't know if you had a chance to read this stipulated agreement, but it does call for the developer to give the state $75,000 for the maintenance of Quarry Park as part of that agreement, which is a win also for the town of Rocky Hill. So once that agreement is signed, I would anticipate that the work that was being done out there will continue. Just to let me just back up a little bit for people that do not know the history of the Old Main Street subdivision. This is a development that was approved by planning and zoning a few years ago. It was started. It was shut down by the state due to the fact that the developer have gone through land of the state that they did not have agreements or permits for. So that's how the lawsuit started. So anyway, back to now, hopefully we can get a resolution on this. So it's been on hold for probably about 2 to 3 years now, or maybe more. I lost track of time, but it's been on hold for quite some time. So once this agreement is signed, the money will be deposited, and then we can move ahead. Okay. Also, as I placed on your work area here, an appeal that was received for 1380 Silas Dean Highway. We're working on it. No worries. I think the commission did a great job. So we'll take it through the process. And I just wanted to give you a copy so you'll be informed.
Thank you for that. Any other business? Okay, let's take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.